That was some of the public outcry in Florida today against one of the most extraordinarily punitive and restrictive immigration bills in the country. A bill that was signed by Governor Ron DeSantis last month that criminalizes the transportation of undocumented immigrants and requires hospitals to check the immigration status of patients, among other things. The bill goes into effect a month from today, but migrants in Florida are not waiting. Today, many of them gathered outside the office of local Republican legislators to pressure them and Governor DeSantis to repeal this law. There were also peaceful protests in at least 7 Florida cities as part of a day of demonstrations called A Day Without Immigrants. Joining me now is Florida State Representative Anna Eskamani. Representative Eskamani, thanks as always for being here tonight. My first question is just, do you think these protests we've seen, there's a lot of passion here. Do you think they are moving any Republican legislators to rethink their position on this?
Well, thanks so much for having me. And as a daughter of immigrants myself, I know, Alex, your mom is an immigrant. These issues are incredibly important to us, and they're personal. And we made that point all through this fight on the House floor against this bill. But the reality is that many Floridians just don't realize it even happened until after the bill was passed. And that's because Governor DeSantis is on a chaos tour. He pushed many bad bills this session, dividing and conquering, if you will, resources and the ability to get out information to the public. So as more and more Floridians learn about this policy, whether they're business owners, whether they are immigrants themselves, the backlash is being felt. And so my hope is that for Republicans who didn't feel the heat before, now they do. And they'll understand why this bill should be repealed, and going into next legislative session and then the campaign season, they'll have a much better perspective on why these policies are dangerous for Florida and why so many people oppose them.
Yeah, I mean, the cruelty piece doesn't ever seem to move Governor DeSantis, but the economic argument against this law seems to be pretty strong. I mean, there's the piece where, you know, if you are an undocumented visitor to Florida, your driver's license is no longer valid in the state. That will affect the tourism industry. There's the basic labor implication here in terms of migrants being afraid to show up for work or not applying for the jobs to begin with. I mean, do you think Republicans just didn't calculate that? And how much does Disney and the debacle that has been for the state of Florida factor into the decision over how much economic pain they can take?
I mean, I made this point when it came to Disney, how our governor is a job-killing moron, and this is more of the same. I mean, let's look at the facts. 1 in 4 of Florida's 2 million frontline workers are immigrants. And as you mentioned, this includes industries that are essential to our economy, whether it's child and social services, public transportation, trucking, warehouses, retail, of course, construction, agriculture. And agriculture in particular is one of our largest industries in Florida, generating over $7 billion in state revenue each year. These are also areas of work that citizens typically don't want to do. And so we need to emphasize the economic consequences of this policy. And that was part of the goal of today, was to encourage not only our workers to stay home, but our businesses to shut down, and for consumers not to shop. We need to show that economic pain and how this really is not just a commitment to the American dream of democracy and welcoming the immigrant, but of course also highlighting the essential role that immigrants play in Florida's economy.
Do you think the protests continue up until July 1st? Can you tell us any more about plans here?
Yes, absolutely. Not only will the protests continue, but we're on the ground hosting educational seminars. We want to make sure that those impacted know their rights, especially when it comes to this invasive collection of data in hospitals. This is voluntary, but we are concerned that due to language barriers and just complete fear of the notion of deportation, that our immigrant community members, especially mixed families, will not seek medical care. So we're ensuring that everyone knows their rights, that we have lawyers ready, and of course, we'll continue to organize on the ground, push back, and build coalitions. Many members of the faith community are opposed this bill alongside the business community. And we need every ally at this time, especially in Florida, as Governor DeSantis continues his bid for the Republican primary.
Yeah, the intersectionality on just recognizing each other's humanity seems pretty profound. Florida State Representative Anna Eskamani, as always, thanks for your time.
Thank you.